This is the simple network topology for the split DNS over SSL VPN. You have the client machine running Fortigate client, and we are utilizing the NIC number 1 and the SSL VPN is from the client machine through the network adapter number 1, and the termination point on the Fortigate firewall is on port 2 with an IP of 14.140.40.108, and the intention of this particular SSL VPN is to access the internal resources in the subnet 10.10.10.0/24. And I am using two DNS servers here, as you can see. One is the global DNS for the client machine or the client network, which will be using 8.8.8.8, which is the global DNS server. Another one is hosted on the Fortigate firewall itself on loopback interface 1.1.1.108. So if you have any other DNS server specifically for the split DNS configuration, then you can have the adequate routing on the Fortigate firewall and adjust your policy accordingly. In my case, for simplicity, I have configured the DNS server, or I will be configuring the DNS server on loopback 0 with an IP 1.1.1.108. So pretty simple network topology. And on the client machine, my intention is that the traffic for the fg1.summit.com and fg2.summit.com only should go over the SSL tunnel to the DNS server specified or configured on the Fortigate firewall. So 1.1.1.108 will only be utilized for the specified domain, which is fg1.summit.com, fg2.summit.com, and rest of the traffic, the DNS traffic, will be diverted to the global DNS server, which is 8.8.8.8. So that's how we will be achieving the split DNS over SSL VPN. Let's try to configure the same. I will be sharing the link for this particular network topology in the description for you to have a correct reference. Let's try to configure the SSL VPN. I will not be covering the entire SSL VPN configuration because I have already created a video on the complete SSL VPN configuration. I'll share the link on screen and you can go through that video for the complete detailed explanation. Today I will only give you the overview. So first of all, you will have to go to system, click on feature visibility, and you will have to enable the SSL VPN from this particular feature visibility tab. Once done, you will start seeing this particular SSL VPN portal, SSL VPN setting, SSL VPN client option here inside the VPN tunnel. So first of all, I'll show you that I already have the user created, which is admin1, admin2, and I have the user group SSL VPN where I have added the admin1, admin2, and I have the SSL VPN portal profile created, SSL VPN portal custom, and you can see here I'm using the tunnel mode and I'm using the option enable based on policy destination. So that means that whatever destination you have in the policy will then be injected into the routing table on the client machine. And you can inject the other routes here in this particular tab. If you update any the subnet or the IP here, will then get injected into the routing table in the client machine. So you basically have multiple options to do so. Source IP pool is the default SSL tunnel address, which is 10.212.134.200.210. Pretty simple configuration. I'm just showing you the configuration of SSL tunnel, and then I'll show you how you can achieve the DNS split DNS on the Fortigate firewall. So this is the actual SSL VPN setting configured on port 2 on 4430 custom port, and you can use that particular URL to access the SSL VPN portal. Certificate is factory default. Rest of the things are all set to default. You can see the address range, which is default address range. DNS server is same as client system DNS, and here I am creating the portal mapping where I will be using the same SSL VPN portal that we have created in the last step. So this is the mapping. So you will have to create the mapping here. I have created two mapping here: SSL VPN group, which maps to our profile that we have created in the last step, SSL VPN portal custom. And then rest of the users will have web access. So you can modify this particular mapping as per your need and requirement. So now after this particular configuration, you will have to create the security policy. So you can see here the security policy to allow the traffic from the interface SSL root. So you will have to select the SSL tunnel that you have created, and then the outgoing interface is port 3 in our case. You can refer the diagram, and the internal subnet 10.10.10.0/24 is connected to port 3. Source is all, and you will have to select the user or the group here. So we have selected SSL VPN group, which has 2 users. Destination is 10.10.10.0/24. That's it. So this should probably help you configure the SSL VPN. So now we will show you how to configure the split DNS over the SSL VPN. So first I'll show you the interface, which is the DNS loopback 0 with an IP of 1.1.1.8, and we will be configuring the DNS server on this particular interface on 1.1.1.108. So click on the DNS server and create new at the port here, the mode as recursive. Click OK. Now you will have to create the DNS database. Click on create. And you will have to enter the host name. First host is FG1. And since we already have the domain updated in the database entry in the DNS settings, we don't really have to enter the fully qualified domain name here. IP address is going to be the primary IP on the interface, which is 10.10.10.5. Click OK. We'll create the second entry, which is going to be FG2. So this is the host name, and the fully qualified domain name will be fg2.summit.com. This will map to 10.10.10.6. This is the secondary IP on the interface. So now we have two entries. One is fg1.summit.com and fg2.summit.com. And you can see the domain name here. Click OK. So I'll show you the configuration on port 3. So port 3 is having an IP 10.10.10.5/24 as the secondary IP and 10.10.10.6/24 as the primary IP. So now once the DNS server is configured on DNS loopback 0, we can then try configuring the Split DNS on the SSL VPN. Click on VPN, click on SSL VPN portal. This is the profile that we are using, SSL VPN portal custom. Click edit, scroll down, and here you will have the option of DNS split tunneling. Enable that, and then once you enable that, you will have to create the host entries. Click on create. So the first entry is going to be FG1, and the primary DNS is, since we do not have any secondary DNS server, I'll keep it empty, and I will create another entry. So here the intention is that the DNS traffic for fg1.summit.com and fg2.summit.com should only be onboarded onto the SSL tunnel and should only be resolved by the DNS server 1.1.1.8, and rest of the DNS traffic should go to the default DNS server configured on the adapter, which is a .8.8.8. Click OK. And now coming back to the network diagram, if you see here, I have the security policy to allow the traffic from the SSL tunnel to the port 3. So here are two options available for me to configure the security policy. First is I can go to feature visibility and enable the option which allows me to use multiple interface in the policy, which is this one. Or I can create a new security policy just for the DNS traffic to avoid any sort of routing loop or routing failure. So I'm going to go with the option 2, which is creating a new security policy for the DNS traffic. So click on the security policy, firewall policy. You already have this policy that allows the traffic towards destination 10.10.10.0/24. So we need a new security policy to allow the DNS traffic from the SSL tunnel. So click on create new. Interface is going to be our SSL tunnel. Outgoing interface is going to be our DNS loopback. Source is going to be all, and you will have to select the user as well. We will be selecting the user group. Now destination is going to be our DNS server IP 1.1.1.108, and the service is going to be DNS. Since we only require the DNS traffic to get to our loopback 0 interface, NATing is not required in my case. Click OK. So now we have the new security policy to allow the DNS traffic specifically on this particular Fortigate firewall. So now you can see here 0 byte, no traffic at all. And I'm running the version 7.4.3 with build 2573 on this particular Fortigate firewall. Now the configuration is done. Let me try to go back to the client machine and try to establish the SSL tunnel using the FortiClient machine. So this is the client machine, and you can see here this is the network adapter number 2 with an IP of 14.140.40.12, gateway 14.140.40.109, which is the Fortigate WAN interface, and the default DNS server is 8.8.8.8. So now I have the FortiClient VPN here. I'll show you the version as well. It is 705.0238. not the latest one, but then good enough for me to test this SSL VPN and split DNS. So I have already added the profile. I'll show you the configuration here. Pretty simple. Remote gateway 14.140.40.108 4430 custom port. Client certificate none. Authentication is saved login. Admin1 is the username that we have in the group. That's it. So now we will try to establish the tunnel. So the tunnel is established and you can see the IP address assigned to this particular client. And now, first of all, I'll show you something. So if you check the route, you will see that you have few information injected here. One is 10.10.10.0/24 and another one is 1.1.1.108. And this is because these two address or the subnet is defined in the security policy, and we have the configuration on the Fortigate firewall which states that whatever is defined in the security policy should get injected into the client machine's routing table. So that's the reason why you see that in the client routing table. Now we will first check the resolution, and this particular DNS traffic will be over the SSL tunnel onto the Fortigate firewall for the resolution. And on the Fortigate firewall, let me try to set the capture to verify the traffic. Let's try to get the resolution, and this is as per the documentation that the Fortigate firewall have. And whenever you're trying to do the NS lookup, they have specifically mentioned that you will have to enter the IP address. But then while communicating to the host fg1.summit.com, you can directly access the host. This is the recommendation that the Fortigate article is having. So you can see here it is getting resolved to 10.10.10.5, which is perfectly right. Let me try to get the resolution for my FG2 10.10.10.6. So that means our resolution is working perfectly fine with the IP 1.1.1.108. Let me try to show you the traffic here on the SSL tunnel. So this is the SSL tunnel, and you can see the traffic from the client machine, which proves that the traffic is on to the SSL tunnel. So now we will have an open capture on the SSL tunnel to capture the traffic. Let's try to ping the host or the domain. I'm able to ping fg1.summit.com. Let me try to ping the next host. And I'm able to ping the second host as well. Let me try to check the capture on the SSL tunnel. And as you can see, I have the logs that proves that the traffic is onto the SSL tunnel. So that basically proves that the DNS split tunnel is working perfectly fine. And let me try to show you something. So if I do NS lookup directly for the domain fg2.summit.com, you will see that it is going to the default DNS server 8.8.8.8. That's the reason why Fortigate have recommended to use So this is the capture for port 53, which is for DNS. Now I'll show you what I mean. So you can see here, there is no DNS resolution or the traffic for the DNS onto the SSL tunnel for 1.1.1.8. That basically means that only specific host that we have defined in the SSL VPN tunnel configuration is allowed to be onboarded onto the SSL tunnel for the DNS resolution. And you can see here, I've tried accessing facebook.com as well, but there is no traffic whatsoever on the SSL tunnel. That means that the rest of the traffic other than the host specified are being diverted to the default DNS server, and only the specified host, in our case fg1.summit.com and fg2.summit.com, are being diverted onto the SSL tunnel for the DNS resolution. Let's try to do another test to confirm that everything is working fine on the Fortigate firewall with the Forti client. So let's try to establish the SSL tunnel first. Now we'll try to ping the fg1.summit.com continuously, and now I have disconnected the tunnel and you can see the ping timing out. Ping to fg1.summit.com is failing because the tunnel is not active, and the internal DNS server 1.1.1.108 is not reachable. The system is not able to resolve the domain fg1.summit.com. So if it is getting resolved, you will see the IP address respectively. Now you can see as soon as I established the tunnel, the ping started working, and the DNS query is getting answered by 1.1.1.108. So that's all in this particular DNS split DNS over SSL tunnel. And the second section is about the inconsistencies that you will see with the Forti client when you're configuring the split DNS over SSL tunnel. So many a times you will see that the split tunnel is not working fine, or it stops working after some time. So in 99% cases, it is all because of the driver which went faulty, or because of the old registry key. So as per the documentation, I was doing some research, and I too had trouble with the DNS, split DNS configuration with certain Forti client version. And this is the article that I found, which recommend us to use the fcremove.exe, which will then clear off all the old driver installed incorrectly and the registry key. You can refer this particular article to download this particular tool, which will allow you to remove the Forti client efficiently from your system. And as per the article, you will have to boot your system in safe mode and then run this particular tool, which is fcremove.exe. But in my case, I did not boot the system in safe mode. Rather, I ran this particular application directly on my Windows machine, and it did help me fix the issue. And the link to download this particular file would be from the support portal. As you can see, support.fortinet.com, and once you select the Forti client, you will see the package Forti client tool. Click on HTTPS to download the Fortigate tool for the specific version. Once you do that, you will have the file Fortigate tool 7050238, and once you unzip it, you will see the particular fcremove.exe inside support util. So you can utilize this particular application to clear the old driver or the faulty driver installation and to clear off the old registry key, which is basically causing the inconsistencies with the split DNS over SSL tunnel. That's all in this particular video. If you have any question, do leave them in the comment section. I'll try to answer them. And at last, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. See you in the next one.